Hey, this is Steve Keys here with Keller Williams Capital District. We are here with another episode of Hey, How's the Market? This week we are doing Saratoga County. This is the week of November 11th to November 17th of 2023. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I figured instead of arguing with your brother-in-law over politics, you could look at some real estate data instead, give you something else to do. All right, so total inventory for Saratoga County. We've got Saratoga Springs coming in first place with 83 properties. Shenendehowa coming in at second place with 67 properties. That's basically the same every week. Saratoga number 1, Shenendehowa number 2. Total for the county was 324. For pending properties, we have Shenendehowa coming in at first place with 13 properties. Saratoga Springs coming in at second place with 11 properties. That is also almost the same every week. Less frequent, like inventory, that's always. Pending does change it up a little bit, but probably 75% of the time, Shenendehowa is coming in at first place, and Saratoga Springs is coming in at second. Total for the county was 43 properties. Sold properties, Shenendehowa coming in at first place with 20 properties. Saratoga Springs coming in at second place with 16 properties. That changes a lot. You're working on delays and stuff like that. It can throw the numbers off of when things actually close. And for this week, the total for the county was 62, which is crazy. So yeah, that's obvious signs of delays happening before, and everyone's just cramming to get everything done before the holidays. Price points, we had 200 to 350, 350 to 500, both taking first place with 16 properties each. 350 to 500 stood the better chance of selling because they had lower inventory. 0 to 200 took second place with 6 properties sold. For school districts, Shenendehowa had your best chance of getting under contract, just under 20%, and South Glens Falls had second best chance at just over 18%. Honorable mention is Burnt Hills, Boston Lake. This is very frequently number 1. It probably takes 50% of the times is Burnt Hills, Boston Lake. They came in at just over 17%. Highest sale in the area was 2.5 million Saratoga Springs. When you see sold before advertised, that means that the deal was put together before it was ever put on the MLS. So when it was put on the MLS, the contract was already signed. A lot of times that would mean that a buyer and a seller and maybe a buyer's agent put the deal together before the listing agent was even brought in. The buyer had an agent, the seller didn't. The seller decided that they'd hire an agent to protect their interests, but because the deal's already put together, the listing agent doesn't put it on the MLS and advertise it for sale. They just put it on and say, hey, the deal's already done, but this is what happened. This was the old Arrowhead Casino. It's a house, but back in like the Depression time, there was the Arrowhead Inn, which has since burned down, and they had an Arrowhead Casino, which was illegal, but it was law that you had to have a separate building. Shush. That you had to have a separate building to do these illegal things that you wanted to do. So that was sold. All right, so looking at the charts. Total inventory, a lot of the other counties we've been seeing a dip here, and then it comes back up and it levels out. Saratoga is a lot more stable. It was a little stable in the beginning, then it went up, and now it's starting to show a little bit of stabilization here. So that's just mostly been going up. That's almost doubled since it was from when we started. Expired cancels, you're not really going to see any kind of trend here. The linear trend shows that it's going up, but you can see the dots are all over the place. They're above, they're below. The moving average, you can see it's all wonky like that. So, for what it's worth, they seem to be getting more, but that could change. New activity. So this, the more important line, I think, is the moving average, which are these dotted lines here. Your solid lines is your linear average. I kind of looked at this is your border. Look at if it's above the solid line or if it's below the solid line, and that'll give you an indication as to which direction we're heading. So looking at the actives and the pendings, this is just new for this week. So these are new properties that were listed this week, and then the properties that went pending this week. You can see that we peaked here around the middle to end of June, and now we're heading in a downward direction. Now, where we are now, we are under the linear average. So it looks like we are pretty clearly heading in a downward direction. Now, the sold is always behind, so it's going to be slower than the active and the pending. So you can see that when we peaked here, we were still going up. I pointed out earlier, this was the high flyer. This is what we had today, 62. Some of these properties probably belonged here. This is when they were supposed to close, but they didn't for whatever reason. So that's why it comes up here. So this peak, I think, would line up with this peak, and we'll probably be seeing a downward direction in the sold properties. Active days on market, these are pretty much the same. You can see that we were going down a little bit. We stabilized towards the end of summer. Now it looks like we're heading back up. Other counties are showing a stabilization. Saratoga County looks like it's heading more up than any of the other counties. And same for down here in the solds and the pending. We're above our average line, so it looks like we are heading in that upward direction. An average price, this one's a little interesting because I haven't seen this in any of the other counties, but we actually have a linear average. This is the pending, the orange one. The linear average is actually going down. And you can see the dot markers here were below the line. The moving average below the line. So it looks like the pending price in Saratoga County is starting to head in a little bit of a downward direction. It could just be that higher price properties haven't closed yet. Although I've kind of been noticing we haven't had a whole lot of activity in that $1 million price category. And moving average, like I said, for sold, it's going to be slower, so we probably won't see it yet. But it does look like it might be, although today was up. But it does look like that's also heading in the downward direction. All right, so that's it for Saratoga County. So that has been this week's episode. Thank you for joining me. And please tune in again next week as we take a look at the question, hey, how's the market? Bye-bye for now.